You are statistically golden. You've won so many tournaments, something like 25 tournaments, 4 majors, and yet people are on your case for not having won a major since 2014. Does it seem odd to you when people ask you why?
I guess I'm a bit of a victim of my previous successes. No, not really. Look, I think that I had a period there where I won 4 majors in 4 years, and people expect you to go on and replicate that sort of success year in, year out, and I certainly thought I was going to replicate that as well, and sometimes things happen, or there was a couple of injuries in there. I missed the Open Championship at St Andrews, and that took me a while to get over. But yeah, I mean, it's you get 4 chances a year, and there's so many great players out here, and I've given myself chances. I've had a bunch of top 5s and had a run at the Open Championship at Carnoustie last year, but it's just it's almost like it almost feels like the next one that I win will be like my first one again, because it has been a while. So, and I think once I win that next one, then I think it'll start to open up for me again. But it's about winning that next one, I guess.
So do you feel like there might be a little bit of a psychological barrier now, or is it just luck of the draw? You just haven't managed to do it on the majors?
Yeah, I think I need to do a good job in making sure that there isn't a psychological barrier there, and but I don't think there is. I've given myself plenty of chances, and when I have, I've played pretty well. But some people at that time just play a little bit better, and there's not anything you can do about that. It's not like other sports, and I can try to put him in a tough position, or all I can do is control what I do, and sometimes guys just beat you, and that's just the way it is. But I mean, if you take my record since my last major win, I've done a lot of great things. I've won World Golf Championships, FedEx Cups, won 3 Ryder Cups since then. So I mean, I've done a lot of cool things, and the one thing that maybe hasn't been on there for the last 4 or 5 years is a major.
Exactly. It's been a statistically phenomenal run for you, even just in the last few months and in a year or two. Are you still looking to sort of beat the Tiger record in majors, though?
I mean, at this point, as I was just saying, I mean, I'm just concentrating on trying to get my 5th, and then if I do that, or when I do that, try to get my 6th, and so on. So I think sometimes if you put a number on it, that can be pressurizing, and so at this point, I have 4 opportunities a year to try and do something pretty special, and hopefully in the not too distant future I'll be able to add that 5th one.
We have 3 weeks for the FedEx Cup playoffs. Right now, Brooks is in number 1 position, and you're obviously number 2, which is phenomenal in itself. But how are you going to get rid of Brooks?
I know he's pretty hard to get rid of at the minute. He's playing some really good golf. We played together in the final round in Memphis a couple of weeks ago, and we played the first 2 days together there too. He played really, really well. He seems like he's in complete control of his game right now, and it's going to be tough to beat him these next 3 weeks. But I'm sort of viewing this as like a 3-week-long golf tournament. I got 12 rounds to play from here at Liberty to next week in Chicago and then Atlanta, and if I can just consistently play the way I've played all year, I think I'll really give myself a good chance to win that FedEx Cup.
I hear his caddy is from Port Rush.
Yes, Ricky.
You don't think you can slip him something?
No, I don't think so. I think they're too savvy for that.
You mentioned though the 3-week-long tournament. In a way, it's like a protracted major, right? It's like one big major. But on the other side of things, the season has been compacted a little bit. Do you find, because this is the first year that it happened, was it more difficult to play the majors more quickly in succession?
You can look at it both ways. So yes, we had a shorter window in which the majors were played. But if you're in control of your game and you're playing well, that works for you, right? Because that's less time for you to, for your game to maybe go off a little bit, or to, you have to work on some things. Like Brooks, he played well, played great at the Masters. He won the PGA. He played great he played great at all of them, and it's such a small window that, if your game's good going into that first one in April, and you can ride that momentum all the way through to the middle of July, it's not that much time. So, but I think if for some of the guys that were used to preparing for a couple of weeks before the majors and getting themselves into the right frame of mind and really dissecting the golf courses and playing them a lot of times, it is tough because you have less time to prepare. But again, it can work both ways for you. If you go in there playing great, you can sort of ride it all the way through.
Speaking of majors, obviously the first round of the Open was a big round for you this year. It was in Ireland, and it would have been maybe not your best round, let's put it that way. Does it haunt you? We're a few weeks out now, or have you forgotten about it? Can you move on?
I think for me, the one thing that I will remember from that is how I responded the second day. And I shot 65 on the Friday. It wasn't quite enough to make the weekend, but what I will remember from that week is that day and the support that I got, and it was sort of it was a great lesson for me in that I played so badly the day before that you can dust yourself off and you can pick it back up and you can go out and shoot 65, and there's not really that much difference between the two. It was one of those things I maybe wasn't quite as prepared for the conditions as I should have been. Didn't play well on the Thursday, but it sort of relaxed me a little bit, but at the same time, I still felt like I had a chance to make the weekend, and I wanted to play in front of my home fans for 2 more days, and that was a real, that was what was driving me forward to try and make the cut. So.
Oh well, and as I say, it was Northern Ireland, so it was a little extra pressure.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Tell us about, because you're a major winner, right? And there are few far between major winners, and I just wonder, do you become a little complacent about the regular tournaments? Is it hard to keep up that hunger, or every time you step foot on a golf course, whether it's here, even just on a practice round, do you still have that drive?
Yeah, so for me, I've definitely this year, I wanted to try to treat every tournament the same. I didn't want to try to downplay some tournaments, upplay others. I just wanted to treat every tournament for what it is, which is just a 4-day golf tournament. They're no different. They're on different courses and maybe different conditions, but the premise is the same. We're playing 72 holes, and whoever gets the ball in the hole the quickest for those 72 holes wins. So maybe in the past I might have had a little bit of that complacency that you're talking about, but now I realize that every week is important, and every week you want to go and play well, and every time that I tee it up, I want to give it my absolute best. And I think that's why I've been so consistent this year. I've played 14 or 15 times on the PGA Tour, and I've had 12 top 10s. So every time I've played, I've really brought my game and performed pretty well.
Do you work on your psychology though? Do you have a performance coach that really helps in that regard?
Yeah.
We obviously, at Bloomberg we work with a lot of high performing, functioning individuals.
Yeah,
and you wonder how you keep that hunger when you've done it all. And essentially you've done it all. You've made enough money, you've bought the houses, you've done what you want.
Yeah. Well, it's about having a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have a purpose in your life, then I can see where you wouldn't have that drive or that motivation. But if you get up in the morning and there is something that you want to achieve, then that's what So for me, it could be I want to overtake Brooks and be the best player in the world. Or the way I look at it is I do something for a living that I love, which is play golf, and I'm very lucky that I play golf for a living, because who wouldn't want to do that? So I realize how lucky I am, and I want to make the most of it.
Yeah, I have to say, days like today are so tough.
This is my office. It's a pretty nice office.
Ryder Cup is going to be in Adair back in Ireland in 2026, and it's interesting because you're playing in the Olympics next year in Japan, and we just had a young Japanese player win the Women's British Open, the LPGA.
Yeah, I saw that.
How do you think of the LPGA and the strides and winning new fans? Is it days like the other day when Mr. Buno won the LPGA, the British Open?
I think so. It's like I think as well, it's a very American-centric view about the LPGA, because everyone looks at the LPGAs and sees the amount of Korean players that have success there, and I think the American audience finds it hard to relate or engage or whatever that may be. But you have the young Japanese girl at Woburn win, and the smile and the exuberance and just the personality. The ladies' game is great to watch. I tune in, the weeks that I'm off, or even the weeks that I'm playing, where the girls will be playing elsewhere. I'll tune in and play, or tune in and watch. And they, they're awesome players. I've played with a lot of them. I live on the same street as Michelle Wee. I see how hard she works and practices, and Lexi Thompson lives down where I live now, and and the two Corda sisters, and they work so hard, and they work just as hard as us, and they're bridging the gap. Obviously, there's still a big discrepancy between what the men play for and what the women do, but hopefully in time that'll get smaller and smaller.
Just curious, you travel a lot. You play in the US Tour, you play in the European Tour, you play all over the world. Do you see an audience growing? It's very different to grow up in America and try to play golf than it is, for example, in a country like Ireland, Northern Ireland, where you can play
accessible.
very cheaply. Yeah.
For sure.
How do they grow it here? What would your advice to the PGA Commissioner be?
Yeah, so I think programs like the First Tee, that the PGA Tour are involved with. I just did a little thing with the First Tee chapter here in New Jersey earlier, and those are the initiatives that will get kids playing. But again, it's, I think golf is in a very unique position that we're probably one of the only sports that just as many of the people that watch us play the game as well. You could say that maybe about tennis also, but you look at the numbers that view football or baseball or basketball, not a lot of those players those viewers actually play that sport as well, but in golf they do. So I think that's an enormous growth potential for us. It's about getting people engaged in the sport for sure, but I'd much rather see, even if our viewing numbers stagnated, and I think as well that the ratings numbers for me, people are consuming media so much differently nowadays. So it's, they want to watch the highlights on their iPad, or they want to, it's gone are the days where people will sit down for 5 hours and watch a round of golf. It's just not going to happen anymore. So you have to engage them in other ways. But I would much rather them be out playing golf, because that's great for the game, and see golf courses filled and see kids start to play. So I think all these junior golf initiatives, First Tee, PGA Junior League, all that sort of stuff is the way forward.
Who do you go to on the tour for advice these days? I mean, obviously Tiger would have been one of your idols.
Yeah.
Who are your idols now? Are they younger than you even?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm at the point where I'm the one that people are trying to get advice from. So it's been a huge transition. This is my 12th year on tour. It goes quickly, and even though I'm still only 30, I feel like I'm one of the veterans out here. So I think my days of going and searching for advice are over, and I feel like people are coming to me and asking me, which is, I love to be in that position, because I feel like I've learned a lot over the past 10, 11, 12 years, and that's what the great thing is about golf. We all try to help each other, which is maybe not the same in other sports.
There is one place where I'm sure you get plenty of advice, and that's back in County Down, because I'm sure they don't stop giving you advice.
Exactly, but it's nice. Like I don't get home as much as I used to, but it's always nice to get home. And but it's the people that are closest to are the ones that are going to give you that sort of sharp little jab, or what happened last week, or why didn't you do that, or what happened here, and it comes from a good place. But I just have to keep moving forward and realize that I'm doing a pretty good job, and as we said at the start there, trying to move towards getting that fifth major and go from there again.